Overthinkers. It's Zweets and Lisa here again.
Hey.
Um, Here to overthink with you a little bit. Well, a lot of it, to be quite honest. A lot to talk about today. And Lisa, how you been? It's
I've been
new.
good. I'm very excited about people who are listening to the podcast. It's been fun to hear people's feedback and realize that we're not the only ones out there, which we already knew that we weren't the only ones. But I think it's a little bit validating.
That everybody overthinks this way. In fact, I ran into someone who literally was like the people pleasing piece. She's like, I do that too. I was like, there you go. We're never alone. Never
You know,
alone in any of it.
we're not alone. And we're going to try to keep making these. And we appreciate your suggestions. We've gotten a couple. And we're planning on doing those within the next couple episodes. So keep sending them. We're
Yeah,
excited
please do.
to talk about all the brain problems. And
And we learn too, right? We also like to overthink about things we didn't even think we needed to overthink about. So here we are.
yeah.
Yeah.
And think of us as your friends that are overthinking with you, which is what we
Yes,
do together and how this all came to be. So,
for sure. Yeah. So Lisa, what do you got for me?
right. So this week, I'm going to give you a word and I will tell you a little bit of context after, but my my word today is annoyed.
Every day, all day long. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah, I've been
amazing.
feeling a lot of annoyed. So
Okay.
tell me what's your relationship to that emotion or feeling?
I think the older I get, smaller things annoy me. And yet, the older I get, the more I'm like, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think the reason that it's coming up for me is not just the feeling of annoyance, which clearly everyone gets annoyed sometimes, but it's also the extra emotion of being annoyed with myself for being annoyed. So in the vein of overthinking, just layering on the
It is
emotional.
thick.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's thick because I have the annoyance, I recognize it's annoyance, and then I get annoyed by myself for
So
being
you're
annoyed.
annoyed that you're annoyed? You're annoyed with you. You feel like you shouldn't be annoyed.
Yeah, like, wait, what is wrong with you? Like, why is this annoying you right now? Because then I'll go into, like, this isn't a thing. It's not usually about me, it's usually about somebody else. And
Mhm.
so then I'm like, you can't control what they're doing. You need to stop trying to make things happen or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I have that double, like, a little bit of shame or guilt or something
Yeah.
about being
That,
annoyed.
well, what if someone is actually annoying though? Like, so
Thank you. Thank you for
you're
that.
welcome.
Myself, do I even really know that annoyance is the thing that I'm experiencing? Because I know that like emotional granularity is important. We're supposed to be able to really pinpoint what the emotion is. So I went to online. I went online, like, what is annoyance? What is, I just looked it up and it's like the state of being annoyed. Thank you so much. That's not helpful. And
Terrible. That's so terrible.
and
Yeah.
as we know, you never define the thing with the word. So anyway, that was not
Captain
helpful. But
Obvious.
what it did say was um, it was like a precondition to frustration.
Okay.
That brought me to Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart, which I
I have
kind of,
not read that one, so I'm excited that you have that in your hands.
and I haven't read it either in the sense of like, I haven't read it like a book. I don't think
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't know that it was intended to be like a book you would read from cover to cover. I treat it like an encyclopedia. And I know
Okay, fair enough.
she called it an atlas, I think, because it's sort of like mapping the landscape of our emotions, which makes a lot of sense. And she has it broken down into categories of kind of your state of being and what emotions come up around that time. So when I looked for annoyance, it is not in there.
Okay.
So further validation
Yes.
that, yeah, it's not real. So then I went and found frustration, which is categorized under the places we go when things don't go as planned.
All right. Say more.
Yeah, so I went to that section,
Mhm.
and essentially what's being talked about is unmet expectations. And I was trying to get, because a lot of it was like, disappointed, regretful, discouraged, resigned, and frustrated. Those are all in the same category.
Okay.
And then I tried to dig in because I'm like, I don't feel like these words, like in the context of me being annoyed of what I'm thinking about, I didn't feel like these words were really doing it. But then I got to disappointed when, and her little definition is, it didn't work out how I wanted and I believe the outcome was outside of my control. Or discouraged, I'm losing my confidence and enthusiasm about any future effort. I'm losing the motivation and confidence to persist.
Mm.
So I think that, and then frustrated, something feels out of my control and is preventing me from achieving my desired outcome, which actually, when I'm annoyed with other people, I don't think that frustration is then really it. Maybe it's disappointed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I the first thing I think about when you are saying that, I think there's something to be said, right? Naturally, we don't want uncertainty. And so whatever it is at hand lends itself to not going the way that we want it to go. I do think, right? So we were use the word annoyance, right? But it's really it is a level of frustration, is wanting something to make us more comfortable or go the way we want it to go because we think we know what the outcome will be if it goes the way we think it should. God, that is so heavy and, and frustrating. I was like,
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And I love when you said we think we know what the outcome is going to be if it goes the way we think it should go. So, in other words, I'm frustrated with someone else's approach or someone else's situation
mm-hmm.
because I think I know how it should be handled.
Damn straight.
So
I
it all
mean,
comes back to me.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and I mean, we are creature, like it's a practice. I don't think anyone will ever fully is to, I don't think most of the time we're doing everything all the time to look at whether it's team members, family members, have everyone's best interest at heart. We would be amiss to say that like we're not also looking for ourselves. But if we think about high intense situations like leading an organization where you do actually have to move things forward, there is probably a higher level of frustration that comes through that because you do have to go from A to Z somehow and you find a way, but then again, people are people and it doesn't go the way we have planned. That is what it is. That's actually a good thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, you
Yeah,
know.
and I think that your distinction between work and personal is so important because when I think of myself leading an organization, like my goal is to get people to be able to do something successfully in the way that feels good to them. Like I don't want to be micromanaging because I know what that leads to, right? If
Yep.
I'm micromanaging, then it all lands on me all the time.
Right. Then
And
it's
so
only
the
your words.
goal, right? The goal is for them to meet the objective in the way that is most successful for them,
Mhm.
that utilizes their strengths individually and appeals to their own intrinsic sense of motivation, all those things which I could never know. So I don't think I get as annoyed with things at work as I do in my personal life. Because like part of it is like these are people I have to engage with at work.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't necessarily get a choice. I mean, there's a choice to some degree, right? But like you really don't, you have less of a choice at work. But and sometimes at home or in your personal life, you have a choice and sometimes you don't.
Mhm.
But I think the level of personal investment in the outcome is a little different
I would agree with that. Yeah.
because the stakes are higher, right? You want those people to continue to be in your life
Mhm.
and you want them to be successful. And so the annoyance is like I feel
Mhm.
like I'm seeing
Yeah.
what should be happening when and it's not happening. And then I go to the future. So say with my kids, I go to the future and I'm like, how is this going to manifest when you're an adult? This
Yeah.
is not going to be good.
Well, and I would push on that a little because I think what it is when, especially when it has to do with family members, we go into the future, but we got it from the past that's making the frustration level now. There's
Oh
something
my
that
God,
we're
yes.
thinking about that whatever happened in our past, that's right. The, what's the saying? You never have to go to your past to find out what you have to work on. It will always present itself in present
Yes.
time. And
Yeah.
so I think part of the thing is we take a little bit of conditioning or how, what life has done to us, for lack of better words, and then when we're in a situation and we're wanting, especially like let's just take your kids or whatnot, or you want what's best for them and right how they're wired and all of those things. If it doesn't go the way you need it, like the way you have it planned, the worry is about the future because you don't want the past to perhaps have looked like what you had to endure. But
Yes.
but that's life, right? Like I mean, if I talk to my parents, they want what maybe what they experience better for me, like, and
Yes.
that's I think the continuous, like, a balance beam that we have to be on with the people that we care about, right? Because you want to give them a level of autonomy and yet you don't want people to experience their own pain. It's the worst thing in the world to watch that, right?
Yes.
I'm not a parent, but I will tell you, I have close relationships with my nephews, and just in the posture of an aunt, man, when my sister-in-law will tell me something that has happened to one of the kids at school that's like maybe someone wasn't nice, I'm a different, like Jesus leaves me. I am a different human. I was like, I will go to that school. I mean, all the things, and then I
Yes.
come back down to life, right?
No, you feel it, that, but I also think it can happen with friends. I mean, I
Yes,
think it can
a
happen
thousand
with
percent.
a significant other, when
Yes.
and it's not, and I love that you reframed it to what happened in my past that is triggering this emotion for me, because I think that I'm thinking about their patterns.
Hmm.
I think I'm thinking about the patterns that I've seen in them.
Yeah.
But that, number one, doesn't allow for them to grow, right? So
Yeah.
if I keep thinking of the things that they've always done or whatever, if I'm not giving them that free, clean slate or today's a new day or what have you, like, then I'm continuing to hang on to all of that, which is not going to be in their best interest. But, and I am aware of that. And I think that's where some of the guilt comes in with
Yeah.
being annoyed, right? Because I'm like, what right do you have to be annoyed with this person for whatever patterns that you think you know or have experienced with them? But really, the question I'm not asking is like, what am I afraid for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I would agree with that. Most of the time it's like, right, we struggle, I think, as even me very much, is like, will I be able to handle it? Or the other pieces is like, gosh, I really want different for you, but you're playing the posture a little like God, right? Like, I know your patterns the way they are this second, so I know because of these patterns, the circumstances will go this way. And
Yes.
that is not necessarily true.
No.
A really small example, but my nephew was trying out for soccer, right? But there were a lot of great players that were trying out for the soccer team. And so my brother was like, odds are not happening. I'm not getting his hopes up. And I, the Pollyanna that I am, I'm like, no, no, he's going to make it. Like, I don't care what the circumstances look like, right? It's going to happen. I play soccer with him, right? So I know his skill level. Everybody was like, no way. Because why? They took exactly what they have seen and they took that and said it didn't. Well, I was right. He made it. And right, everyone was like, what? And the truth of the matter is, even when we know someone's patterns of behaviors, we don't actually know how it's going to turn out, because we don't actually know until the time comes how they're going to interact with a circumstance. Because you can get ahas, you can have a change of anything with people that come into your life. We know it to each other, like our friendship. And I think a lot of when we're trying to just like, or we're frustrated by something, it's because, again, we don't want them to feel the pain, but also we don't want to feel that same type of suffering.
Well, and when you said the question, will I be able to handle it?
Yeah.
That's a big one. Like, will I be able to handle their pain and disappointment again? Which means really I'm taking on and shouldering their emotions for them. And
Yeah.
that's
But
another layer of stuff that I don't have to do.
you don't. And here's the other thing. You also are thinking of it as the same person you were then when you first experienced it. You are no longer that person. So no matter what comes, you'll handle anything because you are no like you have the things that you didn't have when you first experienced what you did. You see, that's the thing. A lot of the times we don't realize that we put ourselves in the posture of how we were when we first went through stuff.
Yeah.
But we evolve. And so when we think about that ever happening again, we put ourselves in the same kind of person we were, but we're not. You are not the same person. And you can handle things. You do handle things. My God, you're a superintendent. You handle things. I don't mean to be like, believe me, I know you've told me stories. You
No,
handle,
but that's getting down to it, right? It's all about like how it impacts me.
yeah, yeah,
And then in some ways it's like when I do think about it that way, aside from I love that reframing too of like
yeah,
you will handle it differently because you're a different person
because you're a
tomorrow than you
different
were
person.
today. And
Yeah.
you're a different person now than you were 20 years ago. But also it makes me think what a selfish way to be too, of like protecting my own emotions as opposed to just being there in that moment with that other person with whatever they're doing. And I think like when I think of annoyance, right? Like
Uh-huh.
the things that I'm thinking about that frustrate or annoy me
Hmm.
is when someone is going through something that I've seen them go through before. And
Mm.
I feel like they're continuing to do similar things to try to solve it, and it's not working for them. And they recognize it's not working and they're frustrated. And I know that I can't say anything to change that,
Yes.
right? I can't control that for them, but it's so hard to sit and be there.
It's very
It's
hard.
still like trying to fix it, right? And it's a selfish
That is
thing.
really hard. And I'm going to interject. I think for me also, when I say this lovingly, repeat offenders, right? Like where, and it's in out of, not out of lack of trying, but it still winds up to the same space. That is very hard to walk through with someone, especially I think the more work you've done for yourself. I will tell you, I find myself thinking I have the answers. And the reality is I really don't. The answers that I have worked for me, but even if someone thinks through what I'm saying doesn't mean it'll work for them, and that's really hard because I want it to be cookie cutter when I'm like, "Have you tried this?" And it's like, "Yeah, for the 11th time I have." So, it's the worst. It's the worst
Yes.
feeling.
Yes.
So, yeah. You
Yeah.
just, yeah.
And that is a very I think it's probably more common for people in
Mhm.
positions like ours
Sure.
to want
Yeah.
to fix and lead and help and support instead of just being in there with that person. And also to our other conversations, setting a boundary of what impacts my own emotions about that scenario that really
Yes.
isn't in my control.
No, it's not.
So
Well,
but I will say the thing that I've learned in this exercise of doing this,
yeah.
like going through this thing about annoyance, and I do recognize at this point the power of labeling an emotion correctly. Because when I looked through these different definitions or whatever, it seems like a very academic exercise, but the one that resonated with me the most actually clearly was disappointment. And when I think about saying that out loud, just using the word disappointed, I am like totally averse to that word. I don't ever feel disappointment in other human. I don't know. That's a thing
Yeah.
and it probably comes from my own background. And like, it was a very hard word for me to hear about myself. And so I never use that word. Really rarely do I
Yeah.
use that word.
Right.
And so when I think about that, and if I were to say I'm disappointed in you or I'm disappointed in the way you're doing, like that is
Yeah.
not, there's a
That is,
judgment attached to that that I
yeah.
am very averse to.
Yeah.
So
It
like
brings up your shame, I'm
immediately,
assuming. Yes.
yes.
It brings up your
So
shame.
like immediately I am like, no, that's not how I feel. Yeah. And so then I can get myself in a better spot
Yeah.
because I can kind of go through that exercise of saying, this isn't me. This person is doing the best they can.
Yeah.
It's not my story to write. I don't know how it's going to end up,
It.
all those things.
But right there is what you're saying is, in fact, when you name an emotion, the brain is really a complex organ. When you actually name an emotion, you can actually regulate yourself faster, number one. But number two, I do think that, reframing it that way for yourself is like you're talking your way, you're reconditioning yourself to to do that. Like to say like they can't help themselves or whatever it is, or even if they did, can I let this go?
Yeah.
and I don't know, right? There are things that I find that I can let go easily, and then there are things that I find that I end up ruminating for a while on. And partly I find it is because I'm trying to control the outcome.
Yes. And also when you say things change and today's another day and situations and people come into your lives, like I've learned from surprising situations. Why wouldn't somebody else? And so
Right.
what like letting someone experience their own hardship is like that's the learning experience. And I think it goes like when we talk about schools and what we do with kids and
Yes.
how difficult it is for educators to walk with a student through productive struggle and not give them the answer and not jump in with the solution and let them construct their own learning. Like
Yeah.
that's really what we're talking about here,
That's
right?
exactly it. Yeah. Which is so hard because we live in a society where it's like they should know it already or push, push, push. And the reality is actually is year one, they might not get it. Year two, they might not get it. Year three, and we just have to kind of like walk alongside of that with that productive struggle and not feel like a failure if they didn't get it in year one, year two. And it's so much easier to say than it is to do because when you're in the business of, especially in education, right, of growth, of wanting growth, you want it, but growth doesn't happen in the timeline we want it. And that's the thing. I know from my own experiences, I want people to catch their growth early because I want them to refrain from the suffering of the redoing, of the unlearning. And I am told quite frequently from my counselor, like, you don't have that power. So, and you wake up when you wake up. And even if it's about one thing, then a year later, you might wake up about another thing. So, and that's that.
Yeah, and we're not God, nor do I
No,
want to be God.
don't want that job.
So, and none of us are perfect, and all of these things help me manage
Yeah.
my own stress a little
But
bit.
this is why it's important, when we talk about just like our overthinking or whatever, this is why this is important is when you open up and you have these conversations with another, right?
Yes.
Or even hearing it and interacting with what someone is thinking about, you're asking yourself questions of like, do I do that? Or why do I do that? And right. Oh, and that kind of thing. And there's a healing that comes with that too.
I think no, and I think this is the part we miss
Mhm.
in self-regulation when we talk self-awareness and then self-regulation. Like there's this idea of like just stop and take a breath or triangle breathing but like yes,
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
what got you to that point? What are you actually feeling? Why are you feeling that way? Which that work is much harder than just stopping, whatever action or conversation you're having and just breathing. It's like, okay, the breathing isn't going to help you. It might regulate you a bit physically, but like the actual regulation is like identifying what is going on
Yeah.
and actually stepping back and not creating another problem when you just like rush in with this ridiculous emotional response, even if you're calm about it, right? Very rarely, I'm not usually escalated when I'm feeling annoyed. It's an internalization, right? Because I'm an
Yes.
internalizer. But
Correct.
like, I don't need to have the conversation or have the little comments that I have because I haven't done any work on the other side to be like, what am I actually feeling right now?
That's it. Then a lot of that, right, you can sometimes do on your own, but it's what you're talking about to me in my eyes is co-regulation. Like sometimes we need another person's even system to connect with to understand what we're feeling. Like think about even the journey you said about like I wasn't annoyed, frustrated, disappointment, and where that led you. Like that word in itself has so much weight. I love that example. I'm so glad you shared it with it because sometimes it's a word, it's a
Yeah.
color of a shirt, like that could send us actually in a dysregulated state because it's a reminder of something and we don't know that we're experiencing it. We don't know what it is, and we make it about the person that's across from us.
Yeah.
And
And
it
it
may
is
not be.
99% of the time about us.
Correct. It's majority of we like I mean, I say this with such love too because I say it to myself. I cause my own suffering. Like, don't get me wrong, there are actually people who do bad things and have
100%.
done bad things, But the daily grime of things I'm causing, I'm making up stories that, did you see how that person looked at me? Oh, they must, uh, can't stand me, when in reality they were thinking about what they ate this morning and gave a
Well,
look that I didn't recognize. Yeah.
and co-regulating with another human. Like I think the thing that's scary to me, and we've talked about this before, is the AI, you know, encroaching upon this space of regulation and support and therapy.
Mhm.
And the reality of how these algorithms are designed is that they are not going to push back. They are going to agree, right? So the more you say, the more it's going to agree with you and just keep going down that hole you're going down, where they might not and probably aren't going to be programmed to give
Correct.
you a question to think about alternatively.
Yeah.
And so I think we talk a lot about that's why this is so important and why we're doing and what we do all the time because we need it.
Just said that. Oh my gosh, because the reality is too, is we do this with each other. We tell each
Yeah.
other the truth. And
Yes.
sometimes it feels prickly and you're like, all right, right? Like a chat won't do that, because the misconception is that you're supposed to feel good all the time or feel better. In fact, some of the learning or things that happen is actually, it takes us to another level of thinking and feeling. Say therapy is the hardest work there is out there. Like telling people the truth is really hard. Like, and I love that you just said that. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you for having this conversation with
This was
me.
good. I'm gonna look what all came out of annoyance. There
Yeah.
you go.
Oh, it's such a great word. No, I really do. I have a different frame today than I had walking in. So
Yeah.
thank you
You
for
made
that.
me think about a lot right now too on myself. So thank you. Yeah.
So we again are here and ready to unpack and overthink all the
Yeah.
things with you. But for
Yeah.
now, I think we need to close some tabs. Close some tabs in our heads and give ourselves some grace as we try to move through this world
Mhm.
with all of our complexity and imperfection. And we're just grateful to be here with each other and with you. So thanks for
Yeah.
being here.
Yeah. Till next time, guys.
Bye.